The USS Eisenhower has appeared on station off the coast of Yemen. And a lot of people out there on the internets are celebrating the fact that the United States is about to drop the hammer on Yemen. Yeah, they're going to get them some. Well, friends, I'm afraid that I need to add some context here, because that's not what's going to happen here. If the United States starts directly doing airstrikes on Yemen, you know what's going to happen? Nothing. Nothing's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen except Yemen is going to start sinking more ships. They're going to just start shooting tons more missiles at anything that moves across the entire Red Sea. That's what's going to happen. We're not going to have any effect on Yemen whatsoever, and Yemen is going to start doing a lot more damage to international shipping. That's a serious claim, but I'm going to walk you through it. All right, folks, let's jump in. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade. And yeah, I'm a news junkie, and I've been watching what's been happening on Yemen for over a decade or so. I've been keeping a close eye on what's going on over there, and I need to add some serious context to what's going on here, because what most people don't realize is that the United States has been essentially bombing Yemen since 2015. In March 2015, the Saudi Arabians got together a coalition of United Arab Emirates and some other Gulf Coast countries and stuff like that. But they didn't want to say it, but essentially the United States was also a part of that coalition. And same with the United Kingdom, the UK. So the Brits, the United States, and the Gulf states all basically declared war on Yemen. Since that time, there have been a combined over 25,000 airstrikes. Tens of thousands of airstrikes against Yemen. Now, some people out there are saying, well, now that the United States aircraft carrier is there, now we're going to really give those guys something. Well, that doesn't really make any sense, because essentially through our proxies, through Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates and Oman and these other guys, they've basically been doing that for the past over 8 years, 8.5 years. We're closing in on 9 years of airstrikes. Saudi Arabia hasn't sent an invasion ground force into Yemen because they're not really equipped for that. They don't have the disciplined soldiers and all that kind of stuff like that. So they've just been doing airstrikes. And they have done, like I said, over 25,000 airstrikes. And that's just as of March 2022. So that's well over a year old. You might want to add another couple thousand airstrikes to that. Possibly as many as 5,000 airstrikes. So I have this question for you. What precisely is the United States going to bomb in Yemen that the Saudis have missed for the past 9 years? Oh, well, Steve, we're going to use American weapons now. Oh, my naive friend. Actually, we've been using American weapons the whole time. Saudis have been dropping U.S. munitions, U.S. smart bombs, GPS-guided bombs, laser-guided bombs. The United States has been supplying Saudi Arabia with tens of thousands of munitions. They have been basically using U.S. weapon systems and weapons platforms, fighter jets and bombers, to drop those munitions. So what precisely is going to change here? What we have seen over the last 9 years is 400,000 people dead. We've seen Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states basically carpet bombing marketplaces, weddings, funerals, basically attacking any kind of group of people that they can find in one place. And what we haven't said openly is that the United States intelligence has been providing targets. There's a lot of talk, though can I confirm on any of this, of the UK as well as United States advisors inside Saudi Arabia helping them select targets. That's what the word on the street is, and the UK has essentially said that they have moved in to help Saudi Arabia select more military appropriate targets. So that plus then the scuttlebutt out there that U.S. Special Operations are helping select targets, that's So if they're using U.S. intelligence, U.S. weapons platforms to drop U.S. weapons on these targets, 32% of them, according to some international records, were actually military targets. The rest of the targets were, well, civilian targets, basically trying to kill as many Houthis as possible, whether they're civilian, children, women, doesn't matter as long as they're Houthis. And this is, and I have been talking about this over the last number of years. And what the United States and its allies have done to Yemen is one of the things that really kind of woke me up. I mean, working overseas, working along the border of Afghanistan and some of those areas, doing humanitarian work, that woke me up a lot to what was going on. But when I just saw over the last decade what the United States has done in Yemen, and then when Bear Country invaded the country in Eastern Europe, and where they're like, those horrible people, they're attacking civilians indiscriminately. It's like, have you not heard of Yemen? Like, are we just pretending this is not happening right over here? Like, U.S. GPS-guided bombs are being dropped on marketplaces, funerals and weddings, and no one's saying a word about that. The hypocrisy is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And the moral high ground has been gone. And Yemen is where the final nail went into the coffin, for me at least. I mean, I saw what happened with the WikiLeaks and some of these other releases of information about what was happening in Iraq, Afghanistan, some of these times where U.S. forces intentionally targeted or indiscriminately fired into apparently civilian populations and such. And you can say, well, that was a really bad decision by that one dude or that team. They're the exception. We saw some war crimes and we said, those guys were the exception. But I've watched the news coming out of Yemen and just it shows so very clearly not the exception. In fact, it is the policy of the United States to commit war crimes and then not let anyone talk about them. And for those of you who are older and you lived through the Vietnam War and you saw a lot of the stuff that was coming out of that, and you realize what the carpet bombing of that kind of meant as well. I mean, there are more excuses back then because, well, the bombs, they don't have, we can't direct them exactly where we want them to go. Well, today there really isn't any excuse. The bombs today go exactly where you send them, right? And so the question is why did you choose that building? Why did you choose that marketplace? What military target was there? Was there a military target? Do you see one guy in uniform in the midst of an entire marketplace? Is that what happened there? What exactly was it? So we have two aircraft carriers. We have the supercarrier, USS Eisenhower with its battle fleet right off the coast of Yemen. We also have the Bataan in the Red Sea as well. This is not going to be easy to reopen the Red Sea. The Bab al-Mandab Strait, still struggle with that. The Bab al-Mandab Strait is a choke point, and it's wrapped around Yemen. And Yemen has been hiding these missiles all over the place, and Israel's having an awful time trying to root out the missile batteries in Gaza. Gaza is still firing off rockets at Israel. How do they escape all the airstrikes? Well, they have ways of hiding them. And Yemen's using the same tactics. And so without a ground offensive in Yemen, they're just going to pull missiles out of who knows where and pull them out of the ground, and they're going to fire them at ships. Because when you have these cargo ships going by, they're just big, fat, honking targets. It's hard to miss them. And for the shipping companies, if there's a chance that their ship's going to get fired at, they're not going to bring their ship through there. So you have to assure these shipping companies that their ships aren't going to be fired at. How are you going to ensure that? How is that possible? I know we have a whole bunch of destroyers and a whole bunch of missile frigates and such like that that can shoot down a lot of the incoming missiles. But the simple fact is that if you're a cargo ship and you're going to go through and hopefully get defended by these warships, that's probably not going to be enough for you. You want to go through when people aren't shooting at you. And that's going to be a real hard sell. And especially, like I said, once the traffic stops, which it has essentially stopped now, it's going to be a really hard sell for the first company to say, well, how about you send your ship through? And they're going to say, well, what about everyone else? No one else is sending their ships through. They're not going to want to be the first ones to do it. They're not going to want their ship to be the guinea pig that's being shot at as it goes through the gauntlet. How do you reopen the Bab al-Mandab Strait? How do you reopen the Red Sea? I don't know if you can. And I think that's something that the United States military is kind of looking at right now. They're being told to reopen the strait. Is it possible? Is it possible? Unless these shipping companies get on board and put their ships in harm's way, maybe they get their crew to get off the ship and some of these countries start putting their military personnel to run these ships past the Yemen country, maybe. But that's crazy. That's crazy talk. That's not really possible. So how exactly is this going to work? Maybe even the Houthis just kind of hunker down for a little bit because they don't see any cargo ships going by. They just kind of wait it out. Wait until all the U.S. ships and Navy ships leave, and then they just start shooting at ships again. How exactly is this going to work out? Because I know a lot of people out there saying, well, we're just going to do airstrikes and it's going to answer it. We're going to knock out all their missile batteries. They don't have their missiles sitting on the surface of the ground in launchers just sitting there. They've been getting hammered for 9 years by the Saudis, the United Arab Emirates, and other countries using U.S. weapon systems and European weapon systems. Friends, it's not going to be over and over quickly. The shipping in the Red Sea is grinding to a halt, and expect to see that not restart anytime soon. President Biden is definitely in a bind, and he's weighing the options of airstrikes on Yemen, but I imagine what his military people are telling him right now is basically all of the military targets that could have been bombed have already been bombed. So what do you do? Apart from landing Marines on the Yemeni coast and taking over that whole part of Yemen, which is not really possible, 14 million people in Yemen, that's about half, a little less than half the number of people in Afghanistan. It's not an easy, there really isn't any simple solutions. Maybe landing on the beaches and taking footholds and then putting Patriot anti-missile batteries up there to shoot down. I don't know. I'm glad that it's not my problem, but I'm here to tell you that the situation there is not going to be handled easily. It's not going to be answered quickly, and I don't know that we're going to see the Bab al-Mandab Strait normalize anytime soon. All right, friends, let me know down in the comments what you guys think, what you guys are reading and seeing out there. But I hate to pour cold water on the USA is going to fix everything with its military might. But it just doesn't seem like that's possible right now. All right, friends, thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.